Good evening. Be turning your Bibles to Matthew. And in the book, page 82. Matthew chapter 10. Let us have our three separate readings of the gospel accounts: Matthew, Mark, and Luke. So I'm going to take Matthew 10, 1 through 4. And someone take Mark 3, 13 through 19. And someone take Luke 6, 12 through 16. Please.
Matthew 10. Jesus called his 12 disciples to him and gave them authority to drive out impure spirits and to heal every disease and sickness. These are the names of the 12 apostles: first Simon, who is called Peter, and his brother Andrew, James the son of Zebedee, and his brother John, Philip and Bartholomew, Thomas and Matthew the tax collector, James the son of Alphaeus and Thaddeus, Simon the Zealot, and Judas Iscariot, who betrayed him.
Mark 3, 13 through 19.
And he goeth up into a mountain, and calleth unto him whom he would. And they came unto him, and he ordained 12, that they should be with him, and that he might send them forth to preach, and to have power to heal sickness, and cast out devils. And Simon he surnamed Peter, James the son of Zebedee, and John the brother of James, and he surnamed him Boanerges, which is the son of Andrew, and Andrew and Philip and Bartholomew and Matthew and Thomas and James, the son of Alphaeus and Thaddeus and Simon the Canaanite, and Judas Iscariot, who also betrayed him. And they went into a mountain.
Okay. Luke 6. Luke 6.
Now it came to pass in those days that he went up to the mountain to pray, and continued all night in prayer to God. And when it was day, he called his disciples to himself, and from them he chose 12, whom he also named apostles: Simon, whom he also named Peter, and Andrew his brother, James and John, Philip and Bartholomew, Matthew and Thomas, James the son of Alphaeus and Simon, called Zealot, Judas the son of James, and Judas Iscariot, who also became a traitor.
Okay, on page 82, as the opposition to Jesus grew from the scribes and the Pharisees, so grew also his fame and popularity among a wide variety of people. Jesus walked one day with his disciples near the Sea of Galilee, and a large number of people from Galilee were following him. People were also present from Judea, Jerusalem, Idumea, and the region on the other side of the Jordan, as well as from around Tyre and Sidon. For many people had heard all about the things he was doing. The people had all kinds of afflictions, and they were flocking to him so they could touch him. For that reason, he asked his disciples to find him a boat to get into, so that the people would not crowd him so. Mark 3:9. And he healed many. Stop right there. Popular or unpopular? Why you think? Ministry is giant now. I mean, this is peaking now. And I mean everywhere. Everybody from everywhere is trying to get to the Messiah. Everybody. Across the Jordan, this side of the Jordan, below Syria, this ministry is now hitting it, and he's hitting it hard. Praise the Lord. People are coming to get what? Okay, people have a need, right? People have a need. Some of your versions say what about this story? About the people that are coming to him. Different kinds of illnesses. People got different kinds of needs, right? They're coming to Jesus with all kinds of afflictions. So there's not one particular thing that's going on here. Folks are hurting. Folks need all kinds of attention from Jesus, and he's the man now. He's the man. So people are looking for him. They find him. And the way the Bible is describing this story, this is more than an arena full of people. When someone bum rush you the way they're bum rushing Jesus, it said that he couldn't move. So he had to get out on a boat and go away from shore just to speak to them. What does that tell you? What kind of picture? If this was a Hollywood production, how would you produce this scenery? How would you produce this scenery?
Jesus trying to get away from them so that we can have space.
How many people in here are claustrophobic? Got a couple, right? You don't like tight spaces, correct? You definitely don't like elbow to elbow with people around you, and you probably don't like rooms with one exit. You know what I'm saying? So this room ain't too comfortable for you, but you know we can't get out this door, prayerfully. If you ever been to a concert that is well known, where a lot of people pack the house, it gets pretty thick in there real quick. And when the performer comes on, what do people do? They all run where? To the stage, to the front. And what seemed to be comfortable before the artist came out or the speaker came out became very uncomfortable, because people want to get to that person. They want to do everything they possibly can to get in that person's circle in space. Most public speakers and performers and entertainers have security. They have an area where it's marked off. You can't go past that. Some people have tried to do some crazy things to get to people and have suffered bodily harm and got kicked out, and all that money they spent was for nothing. But I guess it was the thought that counted. But it's very uncomfortable when you're in a space where you're starting to lose that space and people are moving about quickly. People have gotten trampled because of the masses moving at one time, and people don't know which way that kind of force is going, and made the mistake of losing their footing, and that was the end of that. There's a lot of people coming to Jesus for a particular reason, and you know what's happening? They don't want to leave without that particular thing done. That's why they're moving the way they're moving. That's why they're bum rushing him. That's why they're coming at him, because they don't want to leave. They came there for a specific purpose, and they're not leaving until they get what they can get. Now, if we can illustrate how this is looking, this looks pretty bad, and it looks uncomfortable, because, you know, just like the guy said, I have nobody to put me in the pool. Every time the spirit comes down and stir the water, I have nobody to get me to the pool. There's always somebody to get ahead of me and get in and get their blessing. Well, somebody's not leaving without a blessing. They're not leaving without a blessing. Occasionally, when people with unclean spirits saw him, they fell down before him and cried out, "You are the Son of God." Mark 3:11. But he ordered them repeatedly not to make him known. Mark 3:12. So I just want to stop right there. Okay, now you know what's wrong with you. Okay. Now there's some other people that know what's wrong with them. And then there are some people who you don't want to be around knowing what's wrong with you. Now the people that are crippled, you know, they got a disadvantage. The people that are blind, they have a disadvantage. The people that got maybe a withered arm or one arm or something like that, or a bad arm, you know, that's a personal thing, but it's not bad. They have movement. A person that got a bad leg, they don't have as much movement as the next person. So you got a bunch of people with different ailments and different infirmities that's trying to get to one person. That seems to be impossible. That seems to be impossible. And this one person is so popular that wherever you go, the same thing is happening. That's what's going on with Jesus now, that wherever he goes, the same thing is happening. So it had to be a whole bunch of sick people in Judea at the time of Jesus. Like it's a whole bunch of sick people today. That's why I always say if these folks got the power to heal that they claim they have all over the world, I don't know why in the world we still have crippled, blind people, maimed people, hospitals, cancer centers. I don't know why that still occurs. Because if they had the same power that Jesus had and the power that he gave the apostles to heal, man, people, it should be a clean house. Because no matter what, you spend all you can to get to Italy or get to Nigeria or get to anywhere in the world where you find out somebody got the power to do that. You'll spend everything you got to get a one-way ticket. You don't care how you get home. You just want to get near that person. And Jesus had that kind of popularity because what he did truthfully and honestly. And he proved that he had the power to do that. So it's kind of crazy how, when Luke looked at it, he said it came to pass in those days that he went out of the mountain to pray and continue all night long to God. And when it was day, he called his disciples to himself. He's getting ready to turn this ministry into something different now. And he's going to select, him and God and the Holy Spirit is going to select these disciples to become apostles. And this work is getting ready to take on a different turn. And I mean, you think the Pharisees are mad at Jesus, they're going to be mad at the 12 because he's going to give them the same power to do the things that he is doing, and it's going to multiply. Their faith is going to hinder them in some instances, but it's getting ready to get turned up. And if you can, as a Bible student, you're looking at this, you're seeing that this is not just that Jesus at the wedding anymore. He's getting ready to make a serious impact on the Jewish culture and world around him. And it's going to get worse and worse and worse for him, for those who cannot do the things that he's doing, and for those who are going to lose power. Because right now, all the masses are being directed toward Jesus. So ain't nobody going around the Pharisees and Sadducees anymore. That's like the new kid that moved in the neighborhood. Everybody want to know who he or she is. And all of a sudden, he got best friends all over the place. And everybody has left the popular person that was there before he or she got there. That's Jesus. That's his popularity. And rightfully so. I mean, I would be attracted to Jesus too for that reason alone. If I found out that he can heal, if he can heal a paper cut, I will go to him. And I would just stand in awe and see all the things that he did. He wasn't in a hurry. He wasn't bothered. It didn't bother him. He wasn't trying to get away from people. He was coming to people, attracted people to him. And his personality in that sense alone would have drew me to him when I seen the things that he did. Now, when he asked me to do something, that probably would have been a different story. But as long as I seen him do powerful medical things like that, I would have been drawn to him. Because it's important. It would have been important to me to see that kind of stuff, especially if I had myself or family members like myself that were going through these things. And he did that because Jesus didn't ask people for anything. He just basically told people in certain cases to stop sinning. And, you know, that is a great way to fall in love with someone. You're coming to him and he's not asking anything of you. He's coming to sacrifice himself for you in your sins. He's just trying to get you to see that. And that's a non-threatening relationship. Jesus gave you what you wanted when you came to him. And in some cases, he just told you don't go back to the life that you was leading. In some cases, your situation is because of your sin. And he just simply said, sin no more. I mean, that's powerful in itself. I just healed you. He didn't have to go into a large dissertation about what he did and why he did it. He just told you don't go back home and do the things that you were doing that got you in the situation you were in. And then sometimes he just healed people and told them that their faith made them heal. The fact that you traveled this long distance, or they let you down in a roof on a pallet, that this kind of thought process brought you to me. And I'm not going to deny the fact that you deserve what you came here for. I'm not going to let you leave without it. That was his attitude. That was his mindset. I mean, how can you not be attracted to a person like that? I don't want to go around a person to tell me, you shouldn't have did this and you shouldn't have did that. As long as they give me what I want, I tolerate that tone. But that wasn't Jesus. Jesus gave people what they came for. And he had mercy on them. He had compassion on them. And that's a great ministry, y'all. That's a great foot ministry. Think about it. If you can just imitate a third of what Jesus did in his public ministry, think about what you can do and the impact you can leave on somebody else's life. I know you can't go touch somebody on the forehead, man, and all of a sudden everything medically about them will be well. But I know one thing, what Jesus has done for you, you can do for somebody else, and that will go a long way. If you just show that, just show Christ. Don't show judgment, just show Christ. And Lord knows the way things are going today. I mean, if you just started with young folks, old folks are trying to figure out what young folks are doing. So if you just started there and just took a little bit of time with someone in your community, someone in your neighborhood, someone that you bump into, sometimes they won't listen, sometimes they tell you to shut up. But you know what? If you could just give them some sort of word in a world that is so fast today, some beacon of light, some kind of thought, some good morning, some, hey, you look nice, something. Because there's such an absence of that today. And our moral compass is so far off now that the nicest thing that a person says today draws a lot of attention. Just smiling and being happy in the morning. So if you can take some of these characteristics that you see of Jesus when Jesus is around a bunch of people, I mean, his disciples had to be baffled how he did things. I mean, just imagine being with Jesus when you look around and here they come. Think about that. Here they come. And they coming in numbers. Imagine what Jesus 9 o'clock in the morning looked like. Imagine when it was time to eat, people wasn't hungry. They was hungry for Jesus. Imagine that. Can you imagine how much weight the apostles lost? You know how many times they didn't eat because Jesus was busy? You know how many times they were sleepy because Jesus didn't sleep? There were times Jesus took his ministry into the night and was up early in the morning doing the ministry. So it wasn't, peaches and cream following Jesus. But if you could just imagine the impact that he had on their lives later on in Acts chapter 1, Acts chapter 4, 5, 6, when they remembered how their master taught and walked. Because they had to do the same thing then in the Mediterranean world. Coming out of Judaism and the Judaizers chasing them like no tomorrow, physically doing things to them. Imagine the impact that the Holy Spirit helped them to remember that they were going to change their lives, the impact they were having on the lives around them. And they thought about those daily things that Jesus did. Think about that. Oh, they was afraid. They were chicken when he left. But man, when the Holy Spirit came in them in Acts chapter 1, that had to be a powerful ministry, because they remembered all those things that he said it was going to be brought to their attention, their remembrance. And they said, wow, man, I remember when we did this on the Sea of Galilee. I remember when we got in that boat. I remember when he fed 4,000 people. I can't even imagine being somewhere 4,000 people get fed where there is no food around. And they would remember that. That's crazy. That's insane. And that all started with him choosing them. Not one guy in Jesus' ministry thought that they were going to be on that kind of level. Not one of them. They had no idea. They couldn't. They couldn't conceive of being anything other than a bunch of 12 guys hanging around this famous dude. That's it. They couldn't think any farther than that. Because right now, man, Jesus is famous, man. This ain't no joke here. It's not a person alive in Jerusalem that is more popular than Jesus. And that's your boy. That's your main man. You with him, and people are coming every day to him. Like every time you get up, every time you're on move, here he comes. Here it comes. And he's gonna perform God. Imagine that. Jesus is performing God. And imagine the tears that people had on their face standing in line. And I'm not talking about a 2x2 line. I'm talking about a bunch of people bum rushing. Where the 12 had to silently hold people back because they didn't say anything. The Bible never said anything that the 12 said anything. But at some point, they had to do a crowd control. And then when that got out of control, Jesus said, we got to get on a boat. Because I can't even minister to these people. Imagine not being able to heal somebody because so many people are on you. So many people want to touch you. Talk about the hem of your garment. People just trying to grab a button or some hanging thread. Imagine what that feels like. And God's being God. I mean, it's crazy how this book is taking us deep into the everyday life of Jesus, and the opposition is always on the perimeter, but the everyday life of Jesus the Christ, it's just amazing. It's crazy. Anybody? Any comments? Ellis?
Yeah, this section here, this third paragraph, there's a lot being said here because one, this is in the book, page 82. One is he prayed all night. The fact that he's God and prayed all night before picking these 12 is a big deal. A lot of us make decisions reactive instead of proactive. Some of us have made life decisions, family decisions based off of reactive instead of proactive, where Jesus didn't do that, right? Jesus spent all night praying over things that were already decided. We struggle with praying over things where we don't even know the outcome, and we still can't make the time to pray, right? He already knows the outcome and still took the time. Then the second thing is he picked these 12 from a group of a group, meaning he had people following him already. Then he called certain of those followers to him, and then from that certain, he picked 12, right? And then this question 2 is asking why 12, right? First of all, like for our lives, to get in the mode of planning, right? Jesus is a planner. God is the planner. Salvation is called a plan. But too many of our life decisions are not based off of plans, right? What is your plan for the rest of this year? Let's not even talk life, just this year. What is your plan? Some of us had the same day today as yesterday. Was that your plan? What's your plan, right? Like, what is your plan? We're always talking about other people's lives or what God is going to do and right and wrong. What about yourself? How do you see your own life, right? Like God had a plan, and he had a plan for people who didn't have a plan for themselves. See, these 12 had another plan, but God said, this is your plan now. See the difference? Samson had another plan. What did God say? This is your plan. David had another plan, right? To be a shepherd. This is your plan. See what I'm saying? God always going to have the better plan for us. but we have to get in line with plan mode, right? Because plan is action. So I see a lot here. The praying all night before is a big deal, right? Some things are only possible through fasting and prayer. Sometimes we struggle to pray over our food. Like, how can we make life decisions when Jesus was praying over things where he already knew the outcome? That's a huge lesson learning aspect. The fact that he picked 12 from a group, from a larger group, is a big deal, right? We can spend a whole Bible study on that. Why? Why 12? And why 12 from a group that he called from a larger group? How did the other people feel, right? If I've been following Jesus too, how come he didn't pick me, right? We don't talk about that much. That could have impacted people. People could have left because of that, right? How come you didn't pick me? Church leadership, sometimes we do things. People don't get picked to do something, they run. They run like a little kid to another church because somebody didn't pick you to do something, right? Like, too often we don't speak on those things, right? We let people do whatever they want to do, and then the rest of us who are left, we be nervous to talk about that. That's foolishness. Some people may have left Jesus because they weren't one of the 12, and then to just think about this concept of a plan. Like, I want to be more of plan and goal-oriented living instead of just reaction to the day. You see what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to react to tomorrow if I wake up. I want to plan for tomorrow today. Therefore, if I wake up, I already have a plan, right? Like, what, as a congregation, what is our plan? The jobs you work for, what's your plan? Businesses fail because they don't have a plan. Right? They just every day, well, we just gonna open up the pizza restaurant like we did yesterday. Well, what's your plan to get customers? See what I'm saying? Like, this concept is so rooted in how God operates. Do we live our life that way based off of plans, numbers, facts? See what I'm saying? Or do we just do things to be like, oh wow, this happened or that happened? So I see so much from here. This is like 52 Bible studies in just one set of passages because it impacts our daily life. And there's two sides, right? There's a side of those who are adhering to that plan, the 12, and then there's a side to those who that wasn't their plan, right? God's plan was for 12, not 13, not 16, not 100. So that's profound to think about, that even down to the number of men that God picked. Not only just their character and those things, but the specific number, he had a reason for them. I mean, that speaks volume, because I don't live my life that way. I do too many things where if you ask me, but why, what's the reason you did that? I don't have a reason. I just could say, oh, I just did it. But Jesus is doing things so calculated, it has to jump off the pages to us to mean something more. What do these things mean?
Check it out. You now have the ability to go to work. You no longer have to beg. Now, that may become a stumbling block to you now. Because after your healing, you didn't have a plan. You just wanted to be healed. See, sometimes a blessing can become a curse, depending on where your mind's at. After you pray and God deliver you through a certain thing, what is your next moment? What is prayer? What is prayer right now? I'm asking that question now. What is prayer? Prayer is what?
Making a request.
A request. Karen, what did you say? Talking to God. Anybody else? I mean, what is prayer to you? We all pray. So what is prayer? Comfort. Time to communicate. Prayer should be a time when you talk and communicate to God about everything, not just when it hits the fan. Because if you talk and communicate with God all the time, the Spirit will show you things on the horizon. If you have a strong prayer life with God, you will see things, you will see difficult times coming. Honestly, I'm telling you the truth. I'm telling you the gospel truth. If you stay connected to God through the Holy Spirit, you will understand what that ripple in the road is. You know it's not supposed to be there. But that's a good prayer life. That's communicating and talking to God. You even know what sin looks like because you know what it looked like in your life last time. And God delivered you through that. But if you don't have a good prayer life, you're in deep trouble. Now, the praying all night long with Jesus was an open communication with God to talk about what God wanted him to do with 12 men that he was going to decide. God gave him them 12 men. Now, the Bible said he sent out 70 others. Now, don't think for 1 minute that a whole bunch of people was following Jesus just to be following Jesus. I said at this particular time in his ministry, he is at the top of the peak of who he's supposed to be. That is attractive to him. And for so many reasons, so many people want to stay with him. Remember, he has rock star status right now. And the best thing about Jesus is he's not turning anybody away. Now, right now, we're getting ready to do a selection of the 12. He called them to him. He called them out of other disciples. Don't think for 1 minute people wasn't standing around. Look at that. Look what the scripture said. It's scripture says here, let's go to Mark 3, verse 20. Then the multitude came together again so that they could not so much as eat bread. Think about that. And think about the people with the 12 who was with Jesus. It was more people with Jesus than the 12. And he's picking out these 12 guys. And just imagine what it feels like when Jesus is picking them out to be teachers. Think about that. He is personally getting involved right now in the lives of people. And they probably thinking, wait a minute, Jesus is in trouble. There is danger everywhere. And the Pharisees are making it perfectly known. This is not one of these cushy ministries. Healing somebody is just probably one of the best, probably the best time of the day. Other than that, Pharisees ain't playing. Pharisees ain't playing. They got people coming down from Jerusalem. Y'all go down there. Caiaphas said, go down there and see for yourself what's going on. We getting too much news back up here from this guy. We're going to take him out. Let's find out how to take him out. You think the disciples didn't feel that vibe? You can imagine what it's like when people come around you and somebody don't like what's going on. They make that known. This is calling me to do what? You prayed to God all night long. I didn't. The disciples didn't pray to God all night long. Jesus did. He's choosing them now to do a ministry. Wait a minute. Now, I can get that we healing. I don't have no problem with that. That seems to be the biggest part of what you're doing here. Now you're asking us to do what? Then he's going to tell them what he wants them to do. Then they got to pair up to go do that. Some of them know each other, some of them don't. Some of them like one another, some of them don't. But now they have to put on Jesus. Watching Jesus do things is one thing, but now you have to do what Jesus was doing. Okay. See, the ministry now is getting ready to take on a whole nother meaning. And that means they're going to have to look deep down in themselves and figure this thing out, because now this thing is getting ready to turn spiritual. Where do you go from prayer when God answers prayer? Jesus went into a full-fledged ministry. Healing is going to start thinning out. He's going to start having more confrontations with the Pharisees. And the Pharisees are going to fight back. He's getting ready to be called Beelzebub. That is a swear word. That is a knock you down word. You do not call a Jewish teacher the devil. That means that you completely, utterly hate him. There is no apologizing for that in Judaism. You meant it, you thought it, it came out, and that's all that is. And they didn't apologize for that. See, the ministry is getting ready to take on a whole different focus. And he's going to send them out for a season. A lot of people read the Bible don't know that there was a time when Jesus and the disciples were not together. They was together with the Spirit, but he sent them out to do this. Now he's going to go behind them and minister where they went, but he sent them out. So think about that. 12 is not with him. He's by himself. He sent 70 out. So that's 70 more that is gone of his disciples. Jesus is not worrying about the proud all the time because he got him. The demons are saying what? You are who? You are the Son of God. He got him. They know what he knows. So he got them. He is the Son of God. So he's not worrying about anything. But the ministry is getting ready to take on a whole different meaning here. And now, brothers and sisters, we have asked many things of you in the church. Many things. Some of you have said completely, utterly, no. No, I ain't doing that. Some of you have counted the cost and the time. Some of you have said yes, thought about what it was going to cost you later. But the fact of the matter is, it's a ministry, and it's not mine, it's not yours, it's Christ. And you're old enough and adult enough to know that the ministry is going to cause some sacrifice. And sacrifice is causing you your time and sometimes your money. Sometimes you're not ready for that. The disciples weren't ready for that. The ministry is going to take on a whole different form. And we're getting ready to get into the meat of why he was here. And it's a beautiful thing. All the things that he is doing up until now is a beautiful thing. But now we're going to start talking about sin here. And he's going to start making daily applications to people's lives. Because after all, y'all, he is giving people what they want. At some point, you got to look back at a person and say, what? At some point, you got to ask somebody to do something for you, right? You can't continue to do for people all the time. At some point, you got to look at the person that you've been taking care of for I don't know how long and say, you know something, instead of me bringing you a glass of water, you get up here and grab the glass yourself. You know, at some point, you know, you can buy me a hamburger. You know what I'm saying? I bought you 50. You know what I'm saying? But at some point, I don't need it, but at some point it'll feel good. There's nothing wrong with Jesus asking to be part of the ministry because that's what he came for. It's reconciliation time. I'm going to the cross. See, church, now we get ready to start thinking about the Son of God, not Mary's son. Not the Son of Man, but the Son of God. And then that's going to touch home. How many of us, this to come in here tonight was a sacrifice? I took a nap. I got me a 45-minute nap before I came. Okay? It's a sacrifice. And I'm not lying. It's a sacrifice to bundle the baby up. You know what I'm saying? You grab her. No, you grab her. You got to know. You got to. Did you forget anything? That's real. You understand what I'm saying? It's a sacrifice. Not to go to the, what do y'all go to the gym? That's a sacrifice, right? I mean, it's time that you, personal time. Think about that. Think about the things that God is asking us to do where we will say every single day, like the apostles, wait a minute. How many days you want me to do that? Think about that. All these things take time and it takes a change of mind. It takes a change of mind to be there to hand coats out to somebody. It takes a change of mind to get in that van and go meet somebody somewhere and look at that watch knowing that you're going to be late. Anybody that's on a bus ministry or a ride ministry, you know you the first one up and the last one to get home. Amen? That's a sacrifice. Think about that. That's the ministry that God is calling us to. And it's not always going to work out right. You can invest 6 weeks with somebody, man, and you tell them I have nothing else to say. I think you should be baptized by now. And they tell you no. That's a sacrifice. You have put in 6 weeks of personal time. That's a sacrifice. But you know what? Nobody in this room was called to go to the cross. It ain't that much of a sacrifice when you weigh it that way.
A motivational piece for me too is like these are early voters. When I was younger, I would look at people and think, why would you quit your job and work on a campaign for free? That never made sense to me. You believe in somebody's political view so much. Some people would take all their vacation time and go knock on a door for someone else's vote. But you can't be president without some people doing it because you can't be everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
These people are early adapters, right? They're not us. I know we always want to be the apostles, but most of us are the people who say this is too hard and leave. These are the people that were convinced with hardly anything. See, they don't even know what Jesus is talking about and already convinced. There's a parable. Some people are going to work all day. Some people are going to come at the end. A lot of us are the end of the day Christians. Some people have been laboring before they even know the pay. You already take the job. My point is the 12 outside of the group were the ride or die. That's not most of us. Just let's be honest. These are the people who it doesn't matter. The only reason why they scattered was because he confused them. Remember, they didn't initially scatter. They initially cut ears off. But he put the ear back. So I would have left too, because I would have been like, you're the one who let them take you. So maybe you want to be taken. Therefore, they were confused. That was not their first initial reaction. Their first initial reaction was violence. See my point? People run. This world is full of runners in relationships, friends, business, school, run. Things break out, people film it online and run. Everyone run. Everyone claimed they would stay, but let's be honest. Most people are Usain Bolt runners. When it happens, you're going to run. These people are his best friends. That's why when it comes to the Last Supper, he said, I'm calling you friends. See what I'm saying? So imagine, I always think of the apostles after Christ. Imagine people telling the apostles how they gonna have church. Imagine that. He think, this was my friend. What do you can't even have church without me. See my point?
That's a good
That's
point.
how you feel for us. When people come in with foolishness, you think, some people could say, I've been here when it was Trumbull. Won't you feel some way if somebody came in here, right? You say, oh, I've been here when it was Trumbull. Some families came from Trumbulls. Would you just let somebody come and you say, oh, you just got here? Think of it from their point of view. They were convinced off of follow me. You see what I'm saying? They were not convinced off of healing. They were not convinced off of sermons. See? They were convinced off of pure faith. Some people are that way. Some people's faith is so strong, nothing in this world can sway them. We all say that's us, but that's not true. Most of us in the parable of the sower is when the sun come out and then life comes up and we run. Most people in their faiths are runners. These are people that were convinced so early in the beginning that when people started to run, Jesus asked them, hey, you guys gonna run? And what was their response? Where are we going? See my point?
Yeah.
We have to get our faith to that. But if you're not working on that now, when bad times come, and they are gonna come, you are naturally going to run. Satan has had so much success with runners. Why would he change it up? If your life is going well right now, I implore you to work on your faith then, because bad times are coming. And I've been in church long enough to see pillars. People told me these are pillars, they're runners. They ran. Now, we don't want to say they're runners because we don't want to hurt people's feelings. But if I don't see them anymore, don't that make you a runner? They ran. They did not stay. That's the God honest truth. So therefore, when we look at these 12 men were willing to risk life for Jesus. See what I'm trying to say? I got to get my faith to there. I feel like I would have wanted to be picked by the 12, but never been honest to say my faith wasn't as rock solid as those 12. I was just a sometimes. Sometimes I came around when Jesus was there, and sometimes I had something else to do. Remember, these men had something else to do, and they left it. Remember? These men have nothing else to do anymore, right?
Yeah.
So when we start talking about a sacrifice, it's not a sacrifice anymore for these 12. They made their sacrifice
they're
chapters
beyond that now.
ago. You see what I'm saying? They made their decision. I haven't made my decision yet. Sometimes I want to be about God's business, and sometimes I don't. Therefore, I'm not there yet. But every day, God is wondering, are you ready to commit? Every day I claim yes, I pray in the morning, and it don't be lunchtime before I'm already off doing something else. This is motivation to me to look at this, to see in my life, what kind of disciple am I? Am I apostle level faith, or am I a disciple level faith? Because there was a lot of disciples, a lot of followers, and even the demons believe. See what I'm saying? That's not enough. I got to have faith so strong where God would pick me to help him. Right? Is that the level of faith that I have?
These guys died in the ministry. Don't y'all know that? They died in the ministry. John died of an old age. So before I listen to someone who leaves God, I'm going to listen to someone who's still with God. Because they're the ones that's in the trenches. If it's those that I love, I can't love you past what God has already proven in my life. Like my faith is not built on my mutual affection for my brothers and sisters, because that's horizontal. At any given time, we get a dip in the wave movement. Bzz, 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 bzz. And I can't base that. When Jesus took his clothes off and washed their feet, Peter got so upset when he did that. The other men just was like, because remember, brothers and sisters, nudity was against the law. Okay? Again, profound things being honed in at 12 that God had picked to die for him over yonder. The only way the church is going to survive if people like you are here on Wednesday night. That's the only way it's going to survive. And I don't have anywhere else to go. I have plenty things to do, but in terms of where I'm going to spend eternity, there is no other place for me. You understand what I'm saying? And eternity has a place for me if I endure. God has said that. He sealed me in the waters of baptism. I have a place in eternity. Only I can mess that up. And you think I'm gonna mess that up because one of you gonna leave here because you don't like what is being said? You got to be crazy. You know how many people didn't like what Paul said? What Titus said? Imagine Titus and Timothy under the ministry of Paul was just as crazy as Paul was for Jesus. And imagine when they came back to select elders and make right what was wrong in churches, what older men said to them. That's like Ricardo walking up in here telling somebody they're crazy. But they didn't care. You know why? Because they had a place in heaven. See, the disciples getting ready to become teachers now. He's calling them apostles now because that's what they're going to be. They're going to be teaching his word. So it only means one thing. You got to believe what you read. And if somebody's going to walk in here, I think last Wednesday was the perfect example of what I'm talking about. I got to be deaf, blind, and dumb for somebody to walk into assembly that I worship at and going to tell me I'm wrong. That ain't never going to happen. And y'all, please, don't let me not be here and y'all let somebody run y'all out of here. Y'all better not be here when I get back. Don't let nobody do that. These brothers and sisters, man, died for the cause of Christ. And we got brothers and sisters that run. They go to another church and do what? Do what? What else do we have other than Jesus and one another? What? I can't find it. If y'all can find it, feed it to me. If y'all got a better way of living, show me. If y'all got a place where my soul and my spirit is going to rest other than heaven, show me. If it's a better place than God, let me know. Let me know. You can't find it because I haven't found it. Don't be bringing me nothing to drink. Think about it. Think about this. Think about this. Think about choosing the 12, and you will see. And fast forward, you're going to see how they bought into this and bought into a ministry that was dangerous, physical harm, loneliness, and eventually prison and death. But they bought into it. And they always remembered what he went through to get them to where they needed to be to get that Mediterranean world turned upside down so others can go to the same heaven they're going to. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. All right, we're finished reading. It came to pass one day that Jesus went on the hillside to pray and spent all night praying to God. We know what's coming out of that. He's going to select these 12, and they're going to now be called apostles. He said that Luke 6:13, because he intended to send them out to preach and to cast out demons, Mark 3:15. The word apostle being someone that is sent on a mission of some kind. Among those whom Jesus chose to be apostles were Simon, and we went through the names on them. We know who they are. We know what they're going to do. History tells us where some of them ended up at. We thank God for external sources to know that they did went into the ministry. The book of Acts proved that, and it was all over the Mediterranean world doing things great for God, suffering for the cause of Christ. Okay? There's your 4 questions. We alluded to all these questions while we were talking. So we'll do chapter 30 next week. So just to get us to understand that the ministry now is getting ready to take a different turn, because he's going to sit them down. He's going to talk to them. He's going to hone them in on some things. And you're going to start seeing that as they move now. Notice that Jesus is going to move away from the touch ministry. Look at that. You notice that when you see, if you just fast forward just a little bit, not too far, Jesus is going to be more specific about what he's getting ready to do. And they're going to be a part of that. And their eyes are going to open, because some things they're not going to agree with, and some things they're not. And remember, their opposition to what Jesus is going to do is not on a religious basis, because they're not religious men. And that's the beauty about choosing them. See, he's not going to fight one of them because they're a Pharisee. Now, a couple of them are zealots. They're zealots. They pack it. You know what I'm saying? They're firm believers in what they believe in, but they're not of the religious elite. See, Jesus is not going to fight them on the Old Testament doctrine. See, he's going to fight them. He's going to listen to them and hear what they're saying and know that they're talking amongst themselves about, why are we talking to this Samaritan woman? Or, don't you know that you offended them when you said what you said? Those kind of conversations they're going to start having, because they're going to look at what he's doing and say, sometimes I think you're a little hard. But they didn't call you a devil. They called me a devil. Okay? So the ministry is getting ready to get turned up on that level. David?
It's interesting, the dynamic of the group of 12. There's 3 pairs of brothers in there, and there's a bunch of fishermen. And fishermen are really hard work, but they made good money. And they gave all that up. So their background was hard work, and they applied that to their occupation. Yeah, I mean, he picked the right people. God picked the right guys. I mean, if there's anybody I want with me when it comes down to finances, I want somebody from the IRS. So Matthew wouldn't have bothered me because he was rich. You know what I'm saying? If somebody going to endure, I want Peter, James, and John. Because we went fishing on a boat. And all 3 of us got sick. But that's hard work. That's hard work. And you have to endure the sea, the wind. Sometimes you don't catch anything. It's pretty frustrating. Longshoremen are hard men and women. I know men and women that work
that are longshoremen. I down at the Pier Port in Elizabeth, New Jersey, Red Hook, New York. That's been the biggest part of my career. I know the custom agents down there, the forklift drivers, the crane operators. These people, they make a lot of money, but they work long hours. They're in tough unions and they're tough people, you know. And it's a different vibe. And Jesus had to put all this together. God had to put all this together to work for him, and he chose the right people. He really, really did. He chose the right people. So just remember, those of you who are sticking it out, no matter where you go, if you retire and move, your legacy will follow you. Just remember that. Your legacy will follow you. You will go to another congregation in your retirement years or your better years, or if you just have to move from your job or something like that, your legacy will follow you. If someone called me and say what kind of sister she was or brother she was, I'm going to say they are fighters. They will fight through for the gospel. That's what I'm going to say about you. That's if you hear. If you ain't here, I'm going to tell the truth. They just members. They're just members. Now, I'm a firm believer in all facets of life. Sometimes when you change sceneries, you do better. I tell people that we fire. Sometimes you're going to do better at another job because you understand how important this one was. So you will go somewhere else and you'll be a better employee because you say, man, wow, I shouldn't have did those stupid things. Sometimes it's like that. God take people out of congregations, put them somewhere where he can wake them up. Because no matter where you go and what congregation you go to, it's the same ministry, ain't it? If you lazy here, you're going to be lazy where you run to. If you didn't do nothing here, you're going to go to another congregation, ain't going to do nothing either. You're going to sneak in and sneak out. Well, your reputation is going to precede you. That's who you are. That wasn't these men. All right? Okay, thank you. It is our prayer request time. Okay. Brother Stanley II is praying for blessings, for success, for several and upcoming business ventures that he's working on, praying that he can use those business ventures as blessings to others and the furtherance of God's kingdom.